We are off. Welcome to the Half a Dozen Hospitality Podcast, Mr. James Walsh. Welcome to the show, dude.
Thanks.
My absolute pleasure to have you here on this podcast. And as I say to all of my guests, sometimes I forget, but I didn't today. I want to say thank you for giving your time to me and the listeners, because I believe time is the most valuable thing that we have. So I appreciate you making time for me on this Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, no problem. Seems like it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. So I reached out to James via, I think it was email first, through social media.
Yeah.
And I just said, like, hey, dude, this is my story. This is what I'm doing. I'm coming to town. Are you down? And he was like, heck yeah, I'm down. So I really do appreciate it, man. So in saying that, James and I know very little about each other. So I'm going to allow for James to go first. So what I'm hoping you can do for me, James, and the listeners is help us understand who you are, what you do, and why you do what you do.
Sure. I'll do my best anyway. Yeah, so I'm from Sydney originally. I've lived, here and there a few times, but I've been here most of my life. And I'm married. We have no kids. We live just about 15 minutes walk away from where we are now.
15-minute walk.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. Sydney's not that big anyway.
Right.
Yeah. And so I own Dr. Luke's, a respectable coffee house. Owned it for about 2 years now, but worked here, I guess, the prior 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
And the two ladies who owned it before that, they decided to move to Kingston, Ontario.
Okay.
And they approached me about taking it over, and we weren't sure if we were going to make it work, but we cobbled together some money and made it work, and
now here we are.
We're still going.
So help me understand, and the listeners understand. Oh yeah, guys, if you guys are on an audio platform, I encourage you eventually to go over to YouTube as well, because you can check out the actual space here, what it's like. So help me understand, because I actually came in, got some lunch from JJ's. Shout out JJ's.
Yeah, JJ's Plant-Based Eats.
Plant-Based Eats, which I admittedly was surprised to see in Sydney.
Yeah.
A vegan restaurant.
Yeah.
So shout out JJ's.
For sure.
So in this space, there's basically two concepts. And I met your old neighbors earlier today.
Oh, you were down at Selkies?
I was down at Selkies as well. Shout out Selkies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which the food was awesome there as well.
Yeah, those guys are great.
Yeah. So help me understand, listeners understand how it works in this space. It's kind of divided, but it's not. And there's two businesses within one. How was that always the way it was?
Yeah. So the original location of the cafe was down closer to the waterfront.
Okay.
It was just 10 minutes away. And the guy who bought this building, it's an older building that we're in. It was kind of run down. There'd been a few businesses here and there, but nothing was really sticking. So this guy had a bit of a vision. He wanted to have kind of a market set up with a few different smaller businesses, giving everyone a chance without taking on a huge commitment in rent.
Mm-hmm.
So he approached Missy and Julie, who owned the
previous
place
owners.
originally, about coming up here. And he designed it in this way specifically so that, there would always be two
multiple
complementary
concepts.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, and this is just off the top of my head, it reminds me of how you see off the side of some highways, like a Tim Hortons and a Wendy's kind of together. But this is much more, more my style, obviously, and way better than Tim Hortons and Wendy's. Sorry, Tim Hortons and Wendy's, but it's cool to see. And I think we're seeing more of that as well, especially as I just come from Vancouver, because of lease rates being what they are, and some small businesses not having the capital just to have their own space.
Yeah.
You're seeing some concepts share a space.
For sure.
Has it ever been an issue, or has it always been kind of seamless? And how do you have any say on? Because obviously Selkies was here. Now they're in their own space, so that was empty for a bit. Yeah. And now JJ's is in. What was that process like? Were you involved at all, or no?
So yeah, this time around I was. When the Dr. Luke's first moved here, there was a bakery on the other side.
Oh, okay.
And it worked pretty well,
mm-hmm.
but they couldn't quite make a go of it. It never totally clicked. And then after that, the guy who owned the building got a Mexican restaurant to move in.
Okay.
So it wasn't a great fit. Unfortunately, the food was good, but just
there was no synergy.
Yeah, exactly. It just wasn't perfect. And then when Selkies came about, They operate a food truck as well.
Okay.
And they just thought, hey, let's do a couple pop-ups and see if anything sticks. And they just designed their menu around complementing what we do. And it was a great fit. It worked really well. It was super popular. Unfortunately, a couple things happened with the landlord, and they had to move that.
Okay.
So I think for the better now for them. Like
For sure, yeah.
they're set up down there, and they're doing really well. So yeah, we had a vacancy in for a while, and it wasn't ideal because the space is designed to have,
two operating businesses.
Really, I just want to do coffee. I'm not really interested in frying eggs and that kind of stuff.
Right.
So we had another tenant lined up. That was through the landlord, and a few things kind of didn't click with that. It didn't end up working. And then Joey actually used to cook with Selkies.
Oh, okay.
And he had started doing some pop-up dinners, all vegan menus, and he was gaining some traction with that. And he was actually hosting them. There's a building right across the street from where we are here, the Club 55, kind of a church hall kind of deal.
Okay.
So he was renting out that space and using it. And, we had this vacancy going. I said, hey, Joey, you're doing well there. What do you think about a restaurant?
And he said, okay.
Yeah. So he jumped on it, and there was another couple, James and Chloe, they're part of JJ's as well.
Okay.
They had been doing vegan dinners at the local farmers market.
Yeah.
So they thought, hey, let's team up. We're both doing the vegan thing.
Hence the JJ's.
Yeah. So,
it works.
Yeah.
And how long has that been now?
So they just opened up in March, and they got a week of business in before everything shut down.
Right.
So that wasn't ideal.
No.
So they're kind of slowly building everything back up, but it's going really well for them now.
Yeah, when I came in today, there was some warm bodies in here and people ordering from the window, which is actually a really cool setup that you guys both have.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like the really personal but functional step to the window, ring the bell if you need to, and place your order.
Yeah, and we kind of lucked into that actually. These windows had the slots there, and it was just the right amount of distance for them.
Right.
But we had put the window that we use in just before last summer, with just the intention of people walking by with dogs or baby carriages and that kind of thing, and we hadn't really started to use it, and then this came up, and we didn't open our dining room until about 3-4 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
So we operated a couple of months with just strictly window service takeout.
Yeah.
Yeah, it worked pretty well.
I think it lends itself, I'm just going to check this camera quickly, but I think it lends itself, pause. I've been forgetting to turn that camera on, and after like an hour, I've looked at it and be like, oh my God, I forgot to turn that camera on. I think, and feel free to jump in here because I'm ignorant. I don't own a coffee shop, but I feel like there's certain things in society that are kind of recession proof, kind of pandemic proof.
Yeah.
People still love their coffees. It's almost like a ritual. Do you know what I mean?
For sure.
And now whether you see more people, and you may have more to say on this, see more people buying bags of roasted coffee to make their own at home, or people are now coming in that were like, oh, we always walk by, but we've never been in here. I'm hearing more and more of that. So has that been your reality, seeing an uptick as opposed to a decrease?
Well, yeah, in a lot of ways that's true, and we definitely had an uptick in kind of the retail sales aspect, like people buying beans, and that was especially helpful for us at the onset when we did close down for a couple of months. I had some stock left over, and people reached out, and I managed to sell all that off. And
that's great.
People buying gift cards, all that stuff. So that was all great. And then reopening, we took it pretty cautiously, and I don't know if that was the right thing to do or not, but we shortened our hours a bit, and we stuck to the takeout thing. Mm-hmm. But we got support in a lot of our regulars right away. The challenge for us, I think, is mostly that there's still a lot of the workers downtown, a lot of our regular clientele, they're not back to regular hours yet.
They're not going to the offices. They're not doing those things. So you're missing that business.
Yeah. So we are missing some of that, but every week you see a little more of an uptick.
Yeah.
And then since we reopened the dining room, because that's part of what a coffee shop is. It's a place to hang out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The coffee's almost secondary to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Not to me, but to a lot of people. So since we reopened the dining room, we're definitely seeing some faces that we haven't seen in a long time.
That's nice.
And it's true what you said too, like, people who might not have come before, they decide to hear like, oh, we need to like support some local shops, and so they came by to check us out, and then they continue coming, and so that's been really good.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think we like I said, we are seeing more and more of that, which is encouraging. And we need to see more of that. So if you're listening and you're in the area or in the Atlantic bubble, I encourage you guys to come in to JJ's and come in to Dr. Luke's and support it, because I mean, we needed this message before the pandemic, but we need it even more now. Like, we got to support spots like this, or otherwise they won't exist.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for me, these are the places that make up the culture of the city or the town that you're in, or in the province.
Yeah.
The less we have of this, and the less culture we truly have, because we can't. Again, I don't want to poo-poo on Timmy's or Tim Hortons, but they're not really adding to the fabric of the community.
No, and I mean, there's definitely a place for those businesses.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I have nothing really against them. Like,
definitely.
I don't have a drive-through. It's not
Yeah.
open 24 hours a day.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
not something a small business like that can.
They serve a purpose.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I sat down a few days ago with a woman by the name of Kelsey Watson. I don't know if you know her. She's in the Inverness area. She's a ceramic artist.
Yeah, okay.
And she does incredible tableware, whole lines of mugs and bowls and plates. And I was really impressed with her and her process. But one thing I wanted to pick her brain with, sincerely, was understanding from her perspective, being someone that is so immersed in what she does in her form of art. I wanted to know, and for myself and listeners, how can we tell when we're out looking for tableware or looking for mugs? How can we tell that something is of high quality? Right. So help me and the listeners understand when it comes to coffee, and we'll get into why you've chosen coffee as your thing.
Yeah.
But give us like the few boxes that you tick, either consciously or subconsciously, when you're not having your own coffee, when you're out having coffee. What should people be looking for to know that what they're getting is of quality? Yeah,
so I mean, freshness is really the biggest factor in coffee.
Right.
I mean, you can have one of the nicest beans in the world, and if it's sat on a shelf for 2 months, it's going to taste terrible. Like,
right.
There's just no way around that.
Okay.
So that's really important.
So look at the date on the bag kind of thing?
Yeah, if there's a date, for sure. If it's, if you're buying something usually on like a supermarket shelf or even in some coffee shops, like, it can sit there for a long time. And, I mean, especially your like Maxwell houses and that kind of stuff. But most smaller shops are going to have coffee that was roasted, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, maybe a week and a half ago. But, if it's sitting on the shelf for more than a month, it's just not going to be up to snuff. And
I'm assuming you can, because I'm going to call you an aficionado, a knowledgeable person when it comes to coffee. You can taste that, smell that in the product. Absolutely. Could I, as someone who has a coffee once every 5 months?
Yeah, I think so. There's like a staleness that kind of hangs around an older bean,
right?
And especially something that's been pre-ground, or even like the pods that are popular now. I'm not an advocate for that stuff. It's fine, it's convenient, I get it, but it's just, you're not going to get good quality out of it, I don't think.
So when you're deciding the beans to bring in, what is that process like for you as well? Like, are you sussing things out consistently? Are you talking to the roaster and asking them what's new, or do you just what you like and you like what you like and that's what you bring in? Or are you expanding your horizons when it comes to different, I'm going to say, for lack of a better term, feel free to correct me, but like blends or like roast levels or that kind of stuff?
No, absolutely, you're right there. I mean, they have a certain set of beans that they use, and I've pretty much stuck with what was working well for the previous owners.
Right.
But I do, I go through their list, every couple of months I'll try something different, bring something in, try it with a few different methods and see what I like. And I like to keep it open for customers. Like, if there's something they're interested in,
let me know,
and I'll see if I can source it for them and bring it in.
Can we give them a shout out again? The roaster?
So it's Down East Coffee Roasters in Moncton and Notre Dame, New Brunswick.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Shout out Down East Roasters.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you do.
Yeah, well, they've been in business for quite a long time. I don't know exactly how long, but the guy who founded it, Terry Montague, he's a top-notch roaster and the most knowledgeable coffee nerd I've ever talked to in my life.
Oh, yeah?
This guy will just talk your ear off about coffee.
That's cool though. We need people like that. Like
That's
we need
great.
those authorities to help
That's
educate
great.
people like yourself and other vendors and operators in this province, in this country, in this world. And I love that. I love someone that's so committed to like their lane. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a true specialist.
For sure.
I think that's really encouraging and inspiring to see. How did you come to be, I don't know what you guys call yourselves, like craft beer people are like hopheads, and
Yeah.
what are you, like a caffeinated something, like what do you guys refer to yourselves
I don't know.
as?
I just call myself a barista.
Okay, right.
I don't know.
So how did this come to be for you? Like obviously you said you were working for the previous two owners, and then you did what you had to do to make this become your own. Is this a path that you were foreseeing yourself going down, or was this something, it was just like a tipping point or an opportunity you saw and you took it?
Yeah, there's definitely a tipping point there, but I'm been in the industry for probably a little over 10 years now.
Okay.
I mean, I floated around, done a whole bunch of different jobs here and there, but a few folks opened a cafe on George Street. A bunch of my friends were working there, and I was looking for some work. They hired me on, and I stayed there I was probably 5 years at that spot.
Oh, wow.
And so that really got me more and more interested in the industry and in coffee specifically. And they were one of the first like good quality coffee places around. There were a couple previously, but they kind of stepped up the game a little bit. And then there's actually been a rise in coffee around here specifically. I think since we took over, 6 or 7 shops have opened just within the city limits. So
that's awesome.
So there's more interest in higher quality product. There's a couple roasters here now. There never were before.
Oh, okay.
That kind of thing. Yeah. So,
as an owner, sorry to jump in. As an owner, what is your mindset around that? And before I let you answer, I'll just finish the question a bit. The reason I ask it is I'm so intrigued by mindset within business, and it's a big part of what I do from a consulting standpoint. Is I really work with my clients on better understanding what their current mindset is and how we can change it. And generally the mindset in our industry, and this is a general sweeping statement, is a mindset of lack. It's like, oh, I don't have time to do this, or oh, I don't have money to do this, or there's not enough customers, or there's not enough tourism. It's always lack, and then they just produce lack. Whereas I try to look at what do we have, what can we do, as opposed to what we can't do. So when you say that since you guys took over, you've seen the local market adopt or integrate new businesses. And some businesses like yours can feel threatened by that, where I know there's some businesses look through a paradigm of, this is fantastic because it's only going to, like Danny Meyer says, have you read Setting the Table by Danny Meyer?
No.
Oh, I'm going to get you a book. I'm going to get you that book.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm going to send it to you. His quote is, I don't know if it's his quote, but in the book he says, a rising tide lifts all ships.
Sure.
So if a coffee shop moves in down the street, it's not, oh my God, they're going to steal a business. It's, oh great, this is a great opportunity for us to measure ourselves, see where we're at, or even extend an olive branch to them and say like, hey, welcome to the industry, welcome to the neighborhood. If you need anything, let us know. I think that in itself is really impressive. But going back to it allows for us to measure ourselves. I look at it like, great, like how can we be better, right? And push everyone to, like I said, raise all the ships. So when you saw this growth happen in the local market, was your knee-jerk reaction to be like, oh damn, like we can't afford to lose any customers? Or was it, this is awesome, this is great for coffee, this is great for the locals?
I mean, I gotta say it's a little bit of both, right? Like because you don't have huge margins in this business, right? And so anytime you got customers going somewhere else, it can hurt a little bit. But like you say, like it's important to look at that and say, what can I do better? How can I improve my service or the quality of my product, and work with that and take it as a challenge to
and ask yourself, okay, if Jennifer and Rebecca are now going there for their cappuccinos, next time I see them on the street, just ask them like, hey, like, what's up? Like, did anything I can do to get you guys to come back to our shop? I would love to have you back. And just be super sincere, and don't come from a place of lack, which I know is extremely challenging because in most concepts in our industry, the margins are so slim. So a lot of times when you see someone walk past your door and go in another door, you're like,
it's easy to panic. But I think I did learn a lot from Selkies actually, because I mean, they kind of were a little bit outsiders when they moved to town. They had this food truck, and they're doing this wild, like, comfort food stuff, these great, like, burgers, all this kind of stuff. And then, you know, when they opened the place in here, anytime a new business opened, or, you know, there's another little business down the street, they're out there promoting them.
Yeah.
They're not saying, like, oh, don't go there. They're saying, like, go
there,
there
check
and then
it out.
come try our stuff too.
Yeah.
Like there's room for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and the more people that are interested in going to these little businesses, you know, they tell some friends, and then they go check that spot out.
Yeah.
And they'll go check another spot out, and
It's
so there's benefits for sure.
I think it's the way we have to do it as an industry, especially in our country. Is we need to, going back to the whole, we need the public to support the smaller independents, and we need the independents to support the independents.
Yeah.
We need to stop this tug of war, if you will, and do things like, hey, you know what? A great coffee shop down the street is also, you guys got to check it out. Like, even if they just came in and bought a coffee from you, like, hey, have you heard so-and-so just opened up?
Yeah.
And I think that in itself then changes the consumer's mindset of like, wow, James is like a super cool dude. Like, he's not only serving me, but he's also serving my best interest and saying like, oh, you should go check this out. And I think there's a law of reciprocity. Like, you get what you give, because now that's going to be, because especially in a small town like this, people are going to hear that. Whoever you are sending them to is going to hear that, and then hopefully they reciprocate it.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, there's a lot of support within, you know, the business owners around here. Like, I know that, you know, I've run out of coffee filters before, and Luann's is just right behind us.
Shout out Luann.
And, you know, I'll run over to Luann's and I'll borrow some coffee filters. So she'll do the same for me, right? Like, she needed some bottles for hand sanitizer, and she came by, and I had a couple extra bottles and some pumps, and, you know, we made it happen. And I know a couple other people have had trouble with like some of their equipment, and I'd have no problem going and taking a look and seeing what I can help them with. And
the true sense of community.
Yeah.
But through growth, there's always some growing pains. So you've been doing this now again. This has been your business for, 3 years? 2 years?
About 2.5.
2.5 years?
Yeah.
So for you, what has been the steepest learning curve? Obviously, you've been entrenched in this industry for 10 years, so you've kind of seen a lot.
Yeah.
But then you take off the full-time barista hat, and now you're a barista and an owner and a shift leader and a bookkeeper and all those things, I'm assuming.
Yeah, a whole different world.
So what has been the steepest learning curve for you in this process of becoming a small business owner?
Like, a big part of it for me is kind of like managing my time and making sure I can get to some of the small detail stuff. Now, I'm lucky my wife works a full-time job, but she is a very organized person.
Right.
And she's really good at paperwork and scheduling and all that stuff. So she takes a lot of that load off my plate.
Nice.
So I do get to do the parts of this that I really enjoy, which is like making coffee, interacting with people, you know, talking to other you know, that kind of stuff, that the fun stuff. I can do the fun part, and she does the not so fun part.
But that's something that she does naturally and probably enjoys it.
Absolutely, yeah. She's really good at it, and you know, it's a lot extra on her plate.
Yeah.
But she does a great job of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's your wife's name?
Valerie Walsh.
Shout out Valerie for helping this business do what it does.
For sure. No, I really couldn't do it without her. Like, absolutely, I can't stress that enough.
Yeah, I think any relationship, male, female, 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 male, male, like, we need that support. If you don't, especially as a small business owner, like, you need to have that strong rock in your life.
For sure.
And a lot of times it's interesting because my wife is the same. She's super structured, whereas I'm more like head in the clouds.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She's feet on the ground. So if we're this body walking around, I'm the guy, I'm the head, and I'm way up in like what can we do? How can we do it? And she's the one on the ground actually doing it.
For sure.
That sounds kind of like what Valerie's about. That's
absolutely the case. Yeah.
Talk to me about pride. They say it's one of the 7 deadly sins. I disagree. I think it's important to have a bit of pride. And coming back to Nova Scotia after being away for 15 years, I'm learning that we do have pride here. This is a general statement as well, but I feel like we could use a little bit more of it. I feel like we could use people like you and others in our industry to stand up on a soapbox and say, we're doing like awesome stuff here, and it's just as good as Vancouver, or it's just as good as Montreal, or just as good or better than Toronto or whatever city. Are you challenged by practicing pride? Are you a super humble person in day-to-day operation of the business?
I do tend to be a little bit, but at the same time, you know, I've traveled lots of places. I've tried lots of really good coffee. I'll put my espresso up against almost anyone. I mean, I've had some better cups of coffee in my life, but not many.
That's awesome.
And I really do think that's true. Like, I have lots of customers who come back from like San Francisco, New York, Vancouver, Toronto, wherever, and they come back and they can't wait to have that Dr. Luke's coffee.
That's awesome.
And that's a great feeling when someone says that to you.
Yeah.
Or somebody comes from like Toronto or Vancouver and they walk out the door with their cortado and they like reach back in the door for a second. They're like, hey, this is really good, like,
yeah,
like that feels really good. And you're right, like the services, the products that you can get here do match up with any of your bigger centers. They're just different,
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean they're worse or better. They're just different. They're still high quality.
Yeah.
And they can be marketed.
Oh,
You're starting
sure.
to see more of that around here too, I think. Like you say, that level of pride has come up a little bit, especially with, smaller businesses have to compete now, not just with other small businesses in the area and not just with the big box stores, but with, your Amazons,
true.
access to almost anything you could possibly want. So you have to differentiate yourself. Yeah.
So sticking with pride, I always ask, actually asked Kelsey, the ceramic artist, this question, and I always like to ask this question to chefs, as well, and picture yourself as a chef for a minute. And you are an artist, you're a barista, and what you create is art as far as I'm concerned. So when you are creating that cortado or you're pouring that espresso, and then you give it to that guest, and then you watch that guest interact with, engage with, consume that product, and you see them viscerally respond to it. Mm-hmm. What's going on for you, like in the marrow of your bones? What is that feeling when you can see that guy that just came in and got that coffee from Vancouver and he enjoys it? What does that do for you as a human?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's immensely satisfying because that one coffee took you maybe a minute to make, but there's a lot more behind the scenes that went on to make that happen, right? Mm-hmm. And to be able to get the consistency and the quality to stick around, like it's always a good feeling for sure.
Yeah, I'm just always intrigued by like what happens when people like you that create things get to watch the end user like use it and consume it and interact with it.
Yeah, and I think there's something a little unique about baristas versus chefs, because chefs are insulated from the diners, right?
Yeah.
Baristas are right there. They're like talking
rubbing
to the
elbows,
customer while they're ordering. They're making the coffee. They're having a little conversation, and then they hand it to them, and they they sometimes watch them drink it.
Yeah.
So it's all right there. It happens.
It's
right
like they're more accessible, if you will.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no like I said. There's not a real big differentiation. There's no wall in between them or any of that stuff. This is good stuff. We're going to quickly pause, guys, reset the cameras, and come right back with James Walsh from Dr. Luke's. Be right back. Segue. We're back. James was just saying how the scene here is not just the coffee scene, but like the food culinary scene has changed a lot for the better.
Yeah.
I'm heading after this to shout out Sherry Swift at Gras in Ross Ferry.
Nice.
I'm heading there tonight for dinner.
Yeah,
So
I haven't eaten there personally, but my mom lives out that way, and
it's
she's been a
gorgeous out
bunch of
there.
times. Yeah,
it's gorgeous out there, man.
it's
And the property, Sherry's property is amazing. I'm really looking forward to her meal. And kind of on what you were just saying, James, is something I've been asking a lot of people when I've been sitting down with them, and really is the motivation for coming here and doing this trip and having these conversations. Excuse me, is I've been away for 15 years. Help me understand what's been going on, what is going on, and what you think will be going on. So can you update me on kind of where you've seen the shift? Like when you say things are growing here in the culinary world, what does that mean? Like you mentioned places like Gras. What else, if you can articulate, what else has happened? Are we seeing places like JJ's that wouldn't have existed 5 years ago do well? Are we seeing new concepts, new cuisines? Like what have you seen change in the past? I think 15 years is a long time. Let's bring it down to like 5.
Yeah.
But what have you seen that's like a tangible change in Nova Scotia, Cape Breton?
So there's a couple things. I mean, for one, there's been a lot of student immigration
Okay.
to the universities in the area, and the heavy recruitment from those universities. And like you see it in Sydney specifically, like, you know, one term you'll see a wave of students from like India, Pakistan, that part of the world. Before that, it was people from China and different parts of Asia. So as these people come in, they're studying, they're you know, spending money in the economy, but a lot of them are trying to stick around because they see value in the place. So that and the biggest way they're impacting is with food. So in the last like few months, there's been, or I would go back maybe 2 years, like 2, 3, 4, 5 Indian restaurants opened up.
Oh, awesome, man.
From zero, like they were none around, you know. So and now there's options. Now you can say, well, I like the pakoras at this place
and the naan
you know,
at this
like,
place.
Yeah, exactly. Like so, and that's great. And they're all getting support from the community, and you know, that's been interesting to watch. I think also like it comes from the pride thing you were saying earlier. Like people started to realize that, you know, we do have things to offer here. There's high quality seafood here. There's lots of produce here. There's unique foraging kind of opportunities here. So people started to realize that and see that, you know, people are coming from America. They're coming from Ontario, New Brunswick, Quebec, and they're going to all these beautiful places. So why not showcase what's actually here? So farm to table dining, that kind of thing is just really taken off.
Yeah, it's I've said it on this trip, both on the record and off the record. This place is stunning. It actually is stunning in every sense of the word, and it is world class. Like some of the view, I was driving by myself and was driving through the Highlands, and I just like shouted out loud, "Wow!" Yeah. Like I almost wanted to pull over. I didn't, but I almost wanted to pull over. And I just came from spending 15 years in BC, where there's a lot of wow out there as well.
For sure.
But it's different here. It's almost more dramatic, I feel. You have this like rough coastline and the ocean and these exposed white cliffs, and then you drive a little bit further and you're on a farm where the terroir is producing some incredible product.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is such a gifted place that we have here as our home. So I wonder, and I had this conversation with Heather from The Farmer's Daughter. You know The Farmer's Daughter?
Oh, yeah.
She was nice enough to invite me into her home at 8 o'clock in the morning to have an interview, which was amazing.
Cool.
We were talking about their 2016 Facebook campaign.
Oh, yeah.
This thing that blew up all over the world.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Heather and her team offered up free land if they came to Cape Breton and worked at The Farmer's Daughter. But I was asking her what she thought about the growth of both The Farmer's Daughter and just the Cape Breton culinary scene, and it bringing more attention to Cape Breton. In your opinion, James, do we want to keep it kind of small? Is that what makes it so special? Or do we want to be truly the East Coast way and say, come one, come all? I mean, there's a ton of room here, let's be honest.
There's a lot of room.
But is there any hesitation for you as a representative, as an ambassador of the East Coast, to keep it quiet, to keep it quaint? Or are you like, no, man, like, come on, guys, we can take on people. Let's bring people here.
Yeah, no, I definitely think, you know, bring more people in, like expose everyone to what's actually here.
Yeah.
The only caveat I have to that is making sure that things are sustainable in some ways. Like, you know, there's this project that got some attention nationally recently. This guy wants to build this big statue up in the Highlands National Park and make it a big tourist attraction. What he wants to do is like blast through these nice little capes that are out there in the park, like right on the ocean. And like, I don't see a need to do that kind of thing. You know, do you want a little gift shop and this like big statue as an attraction? I think we already have the attraction, right? Like the natural beauty of the land is what's the attraction, right? What
has been the community response to that? I'm assuming
there's some debate about it for sure. Like there's people who want, you know, they want to be able to sell some you know, some gift shop stuff and that kind of thing. There's, you know, those people are there and they have some valid points. Yeah. But I don't think it's worth you know, the environmental destruction and impact that it could have, you know?
Yeah, I think if we can, to your point, how I would say it is, if we can hang on to the beauty that is, great. But I think part of the growth, we'll have to understand that we'll have to cut down some trees, and we'll have to plow for some roads, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're doing some road work around now, and every year you see a few new developments, like in Inverness. That's changed a lot in the last 10, 15 years with the golf courses.
Yeah, gosh, like stunning golf courses, man.
Yeah, they're crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah. Not much of a golfer, but I'll hang out down at the clubhouse they have there and watch the sunset, have a drink and a nice meal.
I was lucky enough to get a tour around there. We actually did an episode there with Joe Robinson. I don't know if you know the name, but he's you know the name?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome guy. And yeah, he took me out to basically this outdoor living room on a cliff, like these beautiful outdoor sofas literally on the edge of the cliff where you could just sit and have a beer or have a water or wine and watch the sunset.
Yeah.
Like world class views.
For sure.
Crazy.
Yeah. And
then you look down, like I said, there's those dramatic white cliffs and the ocean crashing against them. And like, where else in the world can you get that?
Yeah. No, it's just a matter of like, being able to do that kind of higher end stuff and build some of that infrastructure while maintaining like the integrity of the land.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This show is called the Half a Dozen Hospitality Podcast, and I have 3 questions for you. 2 of them I've asked every single guest that's ever been on this show. I'm going to put you on the spot in a second for those, but one that I've only asked my guest on this trip is one that I'm going to ask you to finish for me. It's more of a sentence and a question. So can you finish this sentence for me, please? It is, Cape Breton is blank.
I mean, it's a little cliche, but I got to say beautiful.
Yeah?
Yeah.
If you broke that down and unpacked that, what does it mean for you?
It's mostly like the land and the ocean and the connection you have to it by being so close. Like, you can drive 20 minutes in any direction. You're at a beach or you're at a hiking trail. You're at any number of those kinds of things. And I've always felt pretty connected to that, even though I live pretty much right in the middle of a city. I don't drive a car, so it's hard for me to get to those kinds of places. But yeah, that's the main connection I have to this place. So.
Yeah, it is very special. Like you said, the ability to do that. I mean, you could walk just to the waterfront and there's the ocean right there.
For sure, yeah.
It's a stone's throw from where we're at.
Yeah.
And while we're on that, if you are coming to town and looking for Dr. Luke's, obviously, I'm assuming most of you have a smartphone listening to a podcast. But where in town are we right now? The corner of?
This is Prince and Bentinck Street.
Nice. So you guys can find us also online. You can find it where we're at. So the last 2 questions I have for you are the half a dozen have-tos and the half a dozen haven't yet. Stay with me here. So I need from you 1 to 6. You can do 1 to 6 items. Things you've experienced in your life that you feel like our listeners have to experience. It can be coffee related or food related or not. It can be a book you've read, a piece of art you looked at, a trip you've taken, a meal you've eaten, a yoga class you've been to, something that you've done in your life that you feel like our listeners have to do.
So I'm going to shout out a local place called the Bite House.
Yeah, Brian, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's one of the examples, I guess, of like what we do have here. That's actually world class.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think I paid $80 for a meal there.
Crazy.
And it was like 6-7 courses of just this like meticulously, beautifully prepared food. And it's all comes from the local area, and it's just like immaculate.
Yeah.
And the service is amazing. The environment is incredible. But like, it's worth spending $80 on the meal, a couple extra dollars on some drinks and a nice tip to experience that kind of thing once in a while. I'm not saying like
every Friday.
No, you can't do that. But find that place locally and try it out, and you'll be surprised.
Yeah, unfortunately, the current landscape isn't allowing for Brian to do what he does.
No.
But he is doing takeout, I think.
Yeah.
To-go food. So if you're local, and he's only doing a few days a week or a couple or 1 day a week.
Yeah, I don't really know what the schedule is.
So it's really limited. I actually was at an event and I saw him but I got super nervous, which I never do. I got like a bit of like a fanboy a bit, and I wanted to go talk to him, but I didn't, which literally never happens to me, but did. But I wanted to get him on the show as well to kind of pick his brain, but I know he's super busy doing what he does. And
for sure.
I heard of the Bite House when I was in Vancouver, so it's become it's really become an international name, but a national for sure. Any other have-tos?
Like in the same kind of token, like, you know, if you live somewhere that has something natural to offer, you know, take advantage of that. Like, get out to the ocean or a trail or anything like that. Like, I don't have as much time for that kind of stuff as I used to. You know, I'm working 80 hours a week or something, but when I can, that's the first thing I want to do is like hop in someone's car and whether it's the Bredor Lakes or out at a beach or
take advantage of it.
But that's the thing, like just relax a little, you know.
I think it's so easy for us to not get jaded. Jaded's the wrong word, but live with not enough gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
We get too busy in our lives. Noise, especially now. There's just so much going on. Especially you as a business owner. I'm the same. It's very easy to have your head down and go, oh my God, it's September? Like, when did that happen?
Yeah.
And thinking like, oh man, I haven't been to the woods, or I haven't been to the ocean, or I haven't like lifted my head up to look at X. I think it's so important for us to take a moment, breathe, and like take it in. Whether it is in the middle of the city and it's a great cup of coffee, or it is up in the Highlands, or it is at Inverness Beach, or whatever it is, like take that time, because like I said at the start of the podcast, time is all we have. So you might as well enjoy the finer things in life.
For sure. Yeah.
Any other have-tos?
That's all I got right now.
That's good, man. I put you on the spot. You did well. I always say most people do one, they just start to sweat and look at me like with this blank stare, like save me. But you did great, dude. The last one is the half a dozen haven't yet. So same idea. I need 1 to 6 items, and more like a bucket list question. So things that you've yet to experience in your life that you want to experience. Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely lots of places I'd love to travel to that I haven't had the opportunity to. And I mean, the way things are now, it's pretty uncertain whether
who knows what's going to look like.
Possibility or not.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's definitely one of them.
Can we shout out any places? And is it like coffee focused, or just you want to go to X?
There's definitely some like kind of coffee tours I'd love to do. Like I'd like to go to Italy and check out kind of the origins of the espresso game and everything. And it's you know, Australia is another place. The big coffee
they're
scene
killing
there.
it. Yeah.
But you know, could be a while before that's a possibility.
Who knows?
Yeah. What else? I mean, there's certainly lots I haven't done before, and there's also lots of places in Canada I haven't traveled to either.
Oh, yeah?
I haven't been to BC before.
Oh wow, you gotta check it out, man.
Yeah, for sure.
We should do a coffee trip together.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Admittedly, I don't actually drink coffee.
No.
The coffee that I had today was so James was nice enough to make me a cortado. I actually made a rule. I said I'm not having any more coffee. I tried to like coffee. I really tried so hard, and I just couldn't. I don't know why, I just couldn't. But I'm not just saying this to pump your tires. I literally enjoyed the cortado, and I probably drank it way too fast, and then was like super buzzed.
You get a little buzz,
super buzzed. And actually, that's part of the reason why I stopped drinking coffee in Vancouver, is because there's one smaller, like 10 location place that is pretty. It's regarded pretty well as like a good spot to grab a cup of coffee from aficionados. But I don't know what it was about the roast that they used, but man, it made me like super uncomfortable in my own skin.
Yeah.
It was weird. It was like a weird caffeine high, where I've had others like yours today. It didn't give me that like almost like anxiety a bit, which I never really feel.
Yeah.
But it definitely gave me a bit of a buzz today, which was cool because I don't drink or smoke or any of those things. So it was nice to get a little kick off some caffeine. Yeah. If you do have people that come into Dr. Luke's and they're like, make me what you want to make me, is the cortado your go-to?
I try to feel them out a little.
Okay.
And I probably could have done a better job of that
today.
Dude,
you hit it out of the park. It was great.
But you know, some people don't like. That's a fairly strong coffee. It's not like just straight espresso or anything. But there's not a whole lot of milk in there. But you know, some people aren't ready for that step. You know. You got to ask them a couple questions before you make the call.
What would be your typical question then? Like, help me understand. Like, if you wanted to unpack someone's taste, what are you asking them?
I'll ask them like, where they might typically go for coffee.
Oh, okay.
What kind of thing
Do they
get,
usually do?
what do they drink at home, that kind of thing. Like, and if they've never had a specialty coffee before, I'll say, why don't you try an Americano? You like sugar, we'll put some sugar in it. You like
Right.
cream, we'll put some cream in it. But yeah, I just try to feel them out. Like, some people want super sweet coffees, and it's not really my bag, but
Yeah.
I'm happy to make it for them.
There's a spot in Vancouver. I'll give them a shout out. It's called Moving Coffee. And he's won some awards. You would know what the awards are because of what you do. But he's won some world awards for coffee roasting or something. I need to look it up because obviously I don't have the
like Barista
vocabulary.
Championships, that kind of
Something
stuff.
like that.
Yeah.
But even like on a higher level, I don't even know. Anyway, I'll find out and I'll let you know. And I'll put it in the show notes, guys.
Yeah.
But he won't do sugar.
Yeah.
He won't do sugar. And if you order a black coffee, he won't give you milk. It's like that's his rule in his place. He's like, if you want a milk-based coffee, he's making you his latte, and that's it.
Yeah.
So you can't order, I'll have a black coffee or I'll have an espresso and then can I have some milk on the side? Like, no, we don't do that.
I totally appreciate that, and I'm a bit of a coffee purist, so I totally understand it. But
it's tough to do that,
especially in somewhere like Vancouver, where there's lots of options and you can specialize a little bit, and you're still gonna get some of the market. Like here, I couldn't do that.
It's funny though. I feel like you could, and the only reason I say that is because I literally watch people in Moving Coffee leave.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah.
I watched a guy, kind of like I'd call him like a blue collar worker. He just wanted a black coffee, wanted to add some cream to it, and the owner was there. He's like, "Sorry, man, we just don't do that." And the guy was like, "Peace, I'm out." But I think he was so committed. I think he is so committed to the art of what he's producing that he's willing to say like, sorry guys, this is just what I do. Yeah. And I think that, and I've talked to a few chefs now on this trip, and hearing you say it, I don't disagree completely with what you're saying, because I understand like we have to facilitate and kind of operate to fulfill the desires of the broader market.
Yeah.
But I think it's also really nice to be known as like this guy that does this, and that's it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's definitely an appeal to that for sure.
Yeah. And I think it takes a bit more of like putting your neck out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, people will follow passion, right? Like, if they see the passion, they'll at least try it.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe they'll decide that they really like it, right? Like,
and that's what I think we need to see more of in this province. And I want to see more of is looking at what Brian's done at the Bite House. Like, he's doing things like he's not doing fish and chips.
No.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of restaurants that say like, oh, you have to do fish and chips.
Yeah.
And I challenge that. Be like, you don't have to. And just if you lead, like you said so eloquently, like if you're passionate about something, like moths to flames, like people love that, no matter what it is. Yeah. And if you tell them like, you know what, I got you. Let me just make something for you. Mm-hmm. Can you trust me? And then you take their hand and you show them, and then you see their eyes light up, and all of a sudden you've pushed that envelope just a little bit, and now you've helped the industry kind of redefine itself, if you will.
For sure. Yeah.
But it's not easy.
No, it's not easy. Yeah.
A lot of uncomfortable moments, and like I said, maybe people leaving. Not that I want you to lose customers, but I encourage you to, every once in a while, just push the envelope a bit.
No, you're right. You got to stick your neck out a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and be known for like, this is what we do, and we're better than anyone else, and just trust us.
Yeah.
If people want to find out more about you and find out more about Dr. Luke's, how best they do that?
So we have a website, drlukes.com, which is a little bit outdated. We need to do some work on that.
Okay.
But our social media channels, like we're on Instagram at Dr. Luke's. We've got a pretty active Facebook account too, and those are probably the easiest ways to get to us.
Nice.
Yeah.
And where does I forgot to ask off the hop is where and why is it Dr. Luke's? First off, who's Luke? And then second part is a respectable coffee house. Like, why is that important? Why is that in there?
Yeah. So the two ladies, Missy and Julie, who started the place, they were living in Vancouver at the time. And it was right around the time when iPhones came out. People were texting a lot, and autocorrect just kind of started coming around. Yeah. So Julie's name would always kind of shorten to Jewel. Okay. And then people, for some reason, would text her Jewel, and it would correct to Luke. And she has a PhD in literature, specializing in Shakespeare. Okay. And like a big interest in theater. So she just ran with it. she and Missy started a little theater company doing kind of German style cabaret theater.
Oh, dang. Okay.
Called Dr. Luke's. And that's where the K came from, like the Germanic kind of cabaret style. And then I think the Respectable Coffee House thing came through Missy. It was like, you know, she's got this whole like cowboy aesthetic, like not she's not wearing a 10-gallon hat around or anything, but she's into that like old West kind of
she's
style
a cowgirl.
thing. Like so she ran with that, and it was a little more saloony in here when they were here.
Yeah,
we changed just a couple things, but that's basically where it came from. But then when I took it over, just coincidentally, we had a dog named Luke, and like you can see it there. It's Zach. Right up there.
Oh, he's
so we just
handsome fellow.
like, well, this is a great coincidence. Let's make him kind of our mascot.
I love it.
Yeah, so we kind of changed the origin story a little bit depending on how long we have to explain it.
I like it. We do have to wrap up because I do have to get to Gras for dinner.
Yeah.
I'm super blessed. I don't want to miss that. But I also respect your time, and you've given me 42 minutes and 22 seconds of yours.
Which
time.
Really is the longest I've ever talked to.
Yeah, so James said, and when the mics we turned off for the quick break there, he's like, this is the most I've spoken ever. So I want to say, man, I'm proud of you for doing this, because it isn't easy to share a table and microphones with some random dude that you just met and have no idea what's going on, and hop on the mics and tell your story, especially if it's not something that comes natural to you. So a shout out to you for stepping up, because you've done an awesome job, man.
Oh, thanks a lot. No, it's been great.
I'm super, super proud, and super, super proud to fly the flag of Dr. Luke's now as well. And I consider you to be a friend, and I mean that sincerely. When I share mics with someone, you are now in my friend circle. And if I can do anything from the podcast to consulting to anything to help you and your brand, reach out anytime. I'm more than happy to help.
Awesome. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure, dude.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for tuning in as you do week after week. If it wasn't for you, this show wouldn't exist. That is James. This is Brad. This is also the Half Dozen Hospitality Podcast. And thank you guys again for tuning in. You know what to do. Until next time, guys. Be good and do good. That's it, man. You did it.
Sweet.
You crushed it, man.
Thanks.
Well done. Easy, right?
That was great.